Hello and welcome to another video, uh, all about the Hollywood cloning conspiracy theory, of which there are many. Massive shout out to From Zero to Something for this video request. Originally this was going to be a podcast, but to be honest, I didn't think I could get more than maybe 20 minutes out of it. We'll see how long we go. But yeah, I just don't see it becoming like a 50-minute thing. And mostly, a lot of that comes down to the fact that there's like a handful of big ones, but a lot of it is just kind of hearsay and silliness and people being silly. But that being said, we will be delving into some interesting stuff today. Now, obviously, clones are back in the news right now. Cloning conspiracies are back in the news because of Jim Carrey and his most recent appearance at the 2026 César Awards. Online theories began to go crazy, viral, with people claiming that he is a clone, or at least there's like a body double, because he changed significantly in his appearance. And it's known that over the course of the last year or so, he makes sporadic appearances. He doesn't sort of appear in public as much as he did. And basically, this all kind of sprung out of that particular appearance and how different he looked. And then also people doing like side-by-side comparisons, saying like, oh, his eyes are different, his face is different, etc., etc. But there's also various accounts on TikTok that recirculated clips of him saying, if I ever shave my face again, you'll know, meaning you'll know it's not me. He said that back on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show in 2017. He had a beard at the time, but was clean shaven when he appeared at the Césars. He's shaved many times since 2017, so I guess that's proof. If you shave, you're a clone. I remember he shaved for his role in Sonic. Like, come on, man. Oh my god, it's just all so silly. Let's move on. Performance artist Alexis Stone posted an Instagram photo that appeared to show a mask of Jim Carrey's face. And they then sort of implied with that post that they'd attended the awards show impersonating Jim Carrey. The photo was clearly AI generated. It seems that people have finally accepted that he had plastic surgery and he just seems to look a bit different. But to be honest, for a hot minute, it had us all. It had me too. His eyes and general demeanor seemed off. I'm still not 100% sold, in all honesty. I don't think that that's a clone. I think that's a bit silly, but something's off. I don't know what exactly it is, but something is off. The thing that got me believing maybe, well, there's a few elements to this conspiracy that got me thinking. And it all kind of started with the Kanye West conspiracy. So back in 2024, around 2 years ago, it was speculated that because of Kanye's rants and calling out the world elite and so on, that he might have been punished by the global elite, perhaps even killed, and then replaced with a clone. The only thing that gave this conspiracy any weight was kind of how different he looked in photos over the course of the last 5 years. He looked like a completely different person. And that was the thing that got me. It was like how drastic it was. Just like suddenly, from one photo to another, in the space of a year, he looked very different. If I had to take a guess, I think age and trauma caught up with him. And this explains the drastic shift in his look. Happens to all of us. Just look at me, I now have white eyelashes, white hair, and whiter skin because of the vitiligo. Am I a clone? No, it's just health conditions and aging. It happens to us all. And sometimes things can speed that process up. For instance, with me, these conditions lay dormant for quite some time. And stress was the causal factor behind them sort of coming into fruition, if you like. Avril Lavigne. This is a fun one. One of the most famous online conspiracy theories, which suggests that she died from suicide in the early 2000s and was replaced by a lookalike named Melissa Vandella. Um, this one's a bit different though, because instead of it being like a clone, like just a nameless, faceless clone that looks like them but isn't really them, this kind of suggested that it was an actress called Melissa Vandella, a completely different person playing the role of Avril Lavigne. What people were saying was basically that Avril had changed a lot in terms of her looks over the course of sort of a 5-year period. But it's ridiculous because people obviously physically change over time. Avril Lavigne was 17 when her first album came out. So, of course, she would look different in her teens compared with how she looked in her 20s. And you see this with a lot of these conspiracy theories where it's like a person changing over time from a younger age to a, older age. I can find you photos of me looking a lot skinnier when I was younger. And it just happens. There's a period where you have like baby fat and then you lose that. And then you go. I mean, it shifts all the time. Weight shifts all the time, and weight can change, like the look of your face, how your face shape looks, can change a lot of things. And it fluctuates all the time. And for women, it's a big shift from teen years to your 20s and 30s. Like you're gonna notice that difference over time. Doesn't mean it's a different person, right? Elsewhere, the evidence suggested that there's changes in her handwriting and like a mole change. Apparently, I don't know. I think that might just be like different that camera angles or something like that, flipping an image, things like that. Also, her style evolution. So going from sort of a girly change to edgier. I don't see what that has to do with anything. I mean, people just change over time. Artists change over time in terms of how they present themselves, what they're into. Do you know what I mean? Like, she wasn't going to play the same. Well, I mean, she wasn't playing a character, but she wasn't going to dress the same for like 30 odd years. That's very rare that people do that. Mostly, not just in art, but in general life, you go through phases. Like right now, I'm loving my grandpa millennial deal, where I kind of mix up a combination of what your granddad might wear with, millennial fit. And I don't know, it works for me. I'm quite happy in my 30s, having slightly more comfortable fashion sense, I guess, but still fiercely holding on to Vans and skinny jeans. I just can't let it go. I don't know what it is. I just can't let it go, man. Also, there's alleged, that's a new word, alleged subliminals in her album Under My Skin. I've not delved into that specifically, but I'm going to guess it's the standard, oh, she said this particular line, which means she's definitely talking about having been a clone. Or maybe reversing a track and playing it backwards. We'll get into that in a bit. So, moving on. Megan Fox, this is an interesting one. I'd not even heard this one. Some people have stated that Megan Fox is portrayed by 23 different people. This made me laugh because it reminded me of how I get told I look like everyone, which, by the way, the list is at 31 people now. You're getting a bit ridiculous. But yeah, supposedly 23 people play Megan Fox, different types of clones. And they take turns playing her. And this all originated from an email sent out in 2010. The email and subsequent conspiracy theory came from an anonymous whistleblower who sent an email to a supposed reporter named Jay Hernandez, who doesn't exist. The email was also sent out to a media outlet called AV Club, and they published the article. And apparently their newspaper magazine outlet is kind of like a satirical one, so they thought it was funny and just put it out there. The conspiracy largely relies on the idea that Megan Fox has 6 different body doubles that were seen to be portraying her character in Jennifer's Body, which is a 2009 film that she starred in, which is hilarious because, obviously body doubles, generally speaking, are just people paid to, stand in a shot, and they'll be like roughly the same height, and they'll be dressed the same way. And yeah, ideally they will bear a resemblance to the person, but they don't always have to completely look like the person. But it's a pretty common thing in filmmaking that you use body doubles. I've applied for body double stuff before in acting because it's money. Eminem, this was the one that blew my mind. I'd never heard this one, and it's hilarious. It's got to be the most ridiculous one. So conspiracy theorists claim that he died. Eminem, our boy Marshall Mathers, died in 2006 or 2007 and was thereafter replaced by a clone or a robot or an android for profit. What am I saying? It apparently all started with a Wikipedia death hoax fueled by Tom McDonald's cloned rappers track, alleging Illuminati swaps between people like Gucci Mane, Kodak Black, and of course, Eminem. The proof of Eminem being a clone apparently lies in the apparent voice changes he experienced post Encore, which was one of his big albums from back in the day, darker hair, and a less aggressive style. Now, I just want to break this down for a second. People's voices change over time. That's just a thing that happens. Darker hair, he just dyed his hair. I mean, actually, no. Sorry, I tell a lie. It's the reverse. He was dyeing his hair blonde for years and years and years. His natural hair color is brown. So he definitely did use some sort of dye to make it darker, but that's his natural hair color. It's brown. The less aggressive style thing. I mean, he's just a musician. He just changed style. He has kids, and I think what we've kind of learned with parents, particularly musicians over the years that have children, is they do tend to kind of, I don't know, relax a little bit more and change as people, because naturally being a parent is going to change you, and you become more sensible, maybe more mature. You change. People change. And they cite that he also shifted in terms of behavior from addiction and recovery, which again, of course you're going to change if you're dealing with addiction, going through recovery. It's just the stupid. I'm sorry, it's so stupid. I went into this video thinking like, oh yeah, maybe we'll discover some really creepy stuff that'll make me believe in this conspiracy theory. But to be honest, if anything, the research just made me realize just how ridiculous this conspiracy theory is. Moving on. Britney Spears apparently has endless variants. Like it's straight out of Marvel. And there are theories that she was replaced post 2007 when she experienced her highly publicized mental breakdown. And if you recall, she shaved her head. And to be honest, after all these years, I sympathize. I get it, man. And she was like really, really hounded by the paparazzi, like harassed by the paparazzi. So she experienced that. And there's theories that it either happened after that or it happened sometime after her, or either during her conservatorship battle, either before, during, or after. That ended in 2021, but it lasted from 2008 to 2021. So they theorize it might have happened sometime then or thereafter. There's also theories that deepfakes or AI is used in her Instagram dance videos. And in these videos, you can see a lack of bottom teeth and inconsistent tattoos. I've not seen these videos, so I can't speculate, but I think it would be pretty easy to explain these away. Also, some people have speculated that this conspiracy comes from a faked 1999 car crash hoax, which I'd never heard anything about. Maybe people in the comments can fill me in. I don't know. It just sounds like nonsense to me. Perhaps the most famous one of all time is Paul McCartney's Paul is Dead Beatles hoax from 1969 that continued throughout the the Beatles' career and well into Paul's solo career and beyond. To this day, people still bring it up. And I'd argue this is the starting point for the Hollywood cloning conspiracy. It was something that the band played on for years, and they put like little messages here and there on purpose. The idea behind the conspiracy is that Paul McCartney supposedly died in a car crash sometime in 1969 and was then replaced by a body double known as Billy Shears. There's absolutely no evidence of this, but it hasn't stopped people speculating over the years. And once again, a big part of it is that people stated he had physically changed in a way that wasn't normal, and it had to be someone else. And again, he just got older. He lost a bit of fat in his face, his facial shape changed, he got older, which, as we know, generally speaking, growth continues well up to, I mean, it can go past 25, but generally 25 is considered like the ending point. But you do change over time, you know, physically, mentally, you do change. There's also the claim that the real Paul never died at all and has been living out the rest of his days somewhere in the UK in obscurity whilst Billy Shears lives at large. To be honest, it's worth deep diving into this conspiracy theory in of itself, because the details get crazier the further you go. There's some really, really good videos online about it. It's crazy. And sort of closing the video out, the general Hollywood cloning conspiracy theory. Here's some stuff I've heard just over the years that I thought was interesting. The craziest part of it I heard is that this is conspiracy around some sort of underground bunker that exists either in LA, or that there's a secret underground bunker for the global elite and Freemasons headquarters existing underneath Denver Airport. I've seen this one pop up a lot over the years. The idea behind it is that the real people are taken away either as sacrifices to be punished for upsetting the global elite, or as a sort of trade where they sort of live out the rest of their days somewhere else and their clone takes over in everyday life. It's possible that this general clone conspiracy comes from the political world as well. Over the years, there's been numerous examples of political leaders using body doubles. I think Saddam Hussein did it a lot back in the day. And this has led to speculation whenever there's photos taken of them. I think a big thing that's ramping up the clones conspiracy as well is that we're seeing more and more celebrities just looking different. And it's plastic surgery, man. It's the Ozempic thing, it's plastic surgery, it's people changing the way they look, and people are calling foul and going, that's not the same person, that's not a real person. And look, it sucks when people ruin their faces with plastic surgery. They're perfect the way they are, but, you know, I understand. But this whole cloning conspiracy is just unfounded. We've not found any sort of concrete evidence that would be like, yes, look, it's a clone. This person's not real. See, here's the proof. Just you can debunk literally all of this. So there's not really much to say. I mean, look, it's like I said, I've barely even I've just under 20 minutes of talking about this. There you go, debunked it. There's not really much else to say. Other than thank you for watching and listening, and drop your conspiracy theories in the comments and your video ideas. Let me know what you'd like to see next. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you very soon.